Thanks for tuning into the Just Go Play podcast, where we look to develop and promote a positive youth sports experience. As always, we are available for speaking and private engagements and can be reached at info@justgoplay.ca. You can also catch full video versions of our podcast on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to visit us at justgoplay.ca. Enjoy the episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Just Go Play podcast. I'm your host, Coach D, also known as Daryl Devonish amongst people. Today, we have a special guest. And you know I always say that, but this one is super special. He is Intex founder, Intex High Performance founder. He's an ex-multi-sport athlete, mentor, coach, won a national championship at Oswego State University, played minor pro hockey for several years. I can go on and on about this guy, but I won't. We are here with my man, Derrell Levy. Brother, thanks for being on the show. This is long overdue. I should have had you on ages ago, but you're a hard man to track down. How you doing?
I'm good, Coach D. Really appreciate you having me out, and you're more than modest. I appreciate the kind words.
Listen, I cut that. That's not even a fraction of the things you've done. I just wanted to give a little intro. Man, you've done so many things. Can you start us off with your backstory on how you started Intech and how you became so passionate about hockey and player development? Like, we got a million things to talk about today. I think our audience is going to just sit back, guys, enjoy the ride.
Well, that's a big question, and I'll try and answer it as best I can.
Got all night. Got all night, buddy.
No, honestly, it's got to go right back to right to the beginning, really. Intech is a buildup of everything I've done, and it comes back from where I started hockey. I started hockey when I was 10, 11 years old, and I was late to the game. And my old man, he's a guy who is a multi-sport athlete himself, and was really successful at the sports he played. He's a natural athlete. He played football, had full ride offers to Notre Dame, ran track for Florida State, had Canadian record for 400-meter hurdles, and he played hockey for Wexford. So,
we got to get him on.
Yeah, never mind me. You got to get that guy on there. So, but the one thing he was instilled was work ethic. And he's like, it didn't matter that I started the game late. He just made me train and work hard and work hard and work hard. And that build up gave me the opportunity to go away to school. And when I got away to school, after my years of trials and tribulations, I met a gentleman named Jason Pratt. And Jason Pratt is, he was my physiotherapist in Oswego, and I had to do my internship with him. And non-clinical students were not allowed to work with patients. And Jay spent time with me, and he loved the exercises I would come up with for rehab. He's like, Levs, what are you gonna do if you don't play after hockey's done? And I was like, oh, what do you mean? I got to play pro. I'm going to league.
Man, you're going on. You're going on.
I'm going on, right? And he's like, no, dude. Like, I get that, but after that, what are you gonna do? And I was like, oh well, maybe I'll open a gym with a therapy, all encompassing, with on ice, off ice, and gave him this whole scenario. And he's like, well, why aren't you doing it? And I go, well, first I got to go play pro. And, first I got to graduate school. Then I got to go play pro. Then I gave him this list that kept going on and on and on. And he goes to me, and he goes, you got to start now. You got to start now. So the next day I go to the therapy clinic, do my internship, and I'm not on the floor anymore. I'm in the office. He's making me write my business plan. He's making me write my philosophy of training. And we're coming up with different names of his business and this whole concept. And that's what I did for the next few months, that's all we did was to come in, and he was loving it too. And, you know, he told me a personal story about himself, how, you know, he always wished that when he had a dream and he kind of went in a different route and never followed through and never really set up to do it. You know, he got stuck, and he's like, don't get stuck. And it stuck with me. So, you know, I'm naturally a person that, a little bit of a pleaser. I'm a drill sergeant. I was raised to be a drill sergeant. My dad raised me like I was in the Army, you know. So I had that mentality, and so I kind of rolled with it. Years later, you know, when hockey was all said and done, I was just able to dust off that book and get going. But before even getting to that point, the point that really, really gravitated me and made me really become obsessive with training and strength training and development, because I was already in it, because I was always a beast in training. Whenever I played sports, people thought I was older than I was because I was just so much stronger than everyone else. So I met this gentleman, TR, Mr. Wade. And Mr. Wade is he's a former VP of British Petroleum. And you know what's funny? One thing one of my other mentors, Spence Curtin, always says to me, he's like, you know, always be open and say yes to new things. So I was home, you know, in college, you're only home for a few days. And, you know, the last thing I want to do is go out and run a tournament when, you know, I want to see my friends and family. I haven't seen it all this time because I've been away. But, you know, I always have respect for those who took care of me. And so Coach Spence was away, and he needed someone to run this tournament, to coach his team. And this team was made up of a bunch of diverse background kids from all over, and they were playing in this tournament. So I came and I coached this tournament. We end up losing. I'm in college, you know, and we end up losing in the finals. But it was a cool experience nonetheless. And it was the first time I met David. And, you know, he says to me, he's like, you know, Daryl, you really remind me of somebody. Yeah. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, do you know TR Goodman? And for those who don't know, TR is like one of the old badass gurus of strength training, you know. So he's one of the first guys that really get into the functionality of movement and how focus on how you walk and how you move. And so I told him, yeah, I knew who he was, and I only knew who he was because he trained some big boys back then, like Chris Chelios, a bunch of celebrities, Terrell Owens, all those guys. So I was like, yeah, I know who he is. So he's like, yeah, you really remind me of him. And I didn't think much about it. Time passed on, and the season went on, and it was summertime, and I was going through a bunch of rough stuff, you know, some personal things. And all of a sudden I got this call in the summer, and my dad was away. So I had been training for hockey, but I was also working construction. My dad's a cement finisher. So I was shoveling concrete, and my phone's buzzing. And I'm like, who is it? And I keep seeing the same number. So I answered. I was like, hey, Mr. He's like, Daryl, you know, I can't stop thinking about it. You know, you really got to meet this guy. You know, you remind me so much of him. And so, you know, I have a lot of pride at the same time. But I finally had to tell him, you know, Mr. Wade, it's just not in the cards right now. I don't have that kind of money to go to LA. I'm a starving student, right? So he goes to me, he's like, you know, just look up some flights for me. So call him back, tell him some flights and stuff. And all of a sudden, the day's done. I'm driving home in my car, driving home, and I get a call. He's like, hey, pack your bags. And this was like on a Tuesday. Pack your bags. Your flight leaves Thursday evening. And so I flew out, and I lived in LA for the summer, and I got to train under TR. And it was a crazy experience, you know. Wow. Yeah. And you know what? I always had crazy work ethic, and I was a beast. Like I could clean the world, and I could lift the world. I could push. My dad used to tie my cars and drive, and I could push them. When I mean I was a beast, I was a beast. You know, so
well, I know. I heard about it.
So he when I got there, he showed up and he gave me a stick and these 2 1.5 pound balls. And when I'm looking at him, I'm like, man, do you know who I am? That's what I was thinking in my head, but I was very polite, so I wouldn't say that, but I was thinking this. Craziest workouts. The craziest workout.
He beat you up with a stick and a rope.
A stick and 2 1.5-pound balls. And that's when my head and my mind and my eyes had opened to how I trained so hard, but wasn't necessarily training right, and not necessarily training right for my sport. My legs burnt like they've never burned before. The imbalances and the lack of range of motion in my hips and my shoulders, it was crazy. And so I got to this place where now, after I left my workout sessions, I'd be walking the streets and I can't help but look at someone's posture, look at how someone's walking, look at someone's shoulders.
I have that sickness too. I know what you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm saying. So and then it became this obsession with me, and then the best part about it was that after my time there, I went back to go play that season, and he changed my whole style of training. And when I got to my team looked at me, my coach looked at me, and he's like, "Derrell, what happened? You didn't work out this summer? You didn't train?"
Well, you lost weight. You got leaner.
I lost weight. I got leaner. I looked leaner. I didn't have all the same
Football.
chiseled chest, football body,
Right.
So he's like, "Oh, what happened?" But I got on the ice and I could skate forever. No burn in my legs. I felt like mobile. All of a sudden, I didn't have to think about skating. So all of a sudden, my game, my mind for the game, I had more time to think about playing the game. So now my game got easier. My production got better. And that's when I was like completely dialed in, and it's like, whoa, I need this. And I started teaching my school team, and then the school team, we were fortunate to win national championship. So they sent me to work with the basketball team, and before I knew it, I was already starting my strength training as a strength coach.
You were still
before
student.
I was still a student.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, long story short, I went on and I played pro and I did all that. And when it was all said and done, I had a career in injuries, my wrist and stuff. When it was all said and done, and a bunch of family issues, I came home and I got a job at Dell as account manager. I was there for 3 days and said, "This isn't for me." And I dusted off that same book that I did with Jason Pratt, and my therapist, and I went to a local gym out in Markham, and they said to me, I just went there and said, "Hey, how much to rent space for a month?" I rented space for the month, had a couple of clients, 3 or 4 clients I started with, and boom, we're doing what we're doing today.
Wow. Man, you said a lot. And I see where your energy though, like, listen, so you had the fortitude though to take that information that you learned, because like most athletes that I see that come along, they're already high level, a lot of them, and they think they already know what they know.
Exactly.
That guy took you and he made you see training differently. He had you, it sounds like he had you training smarter versus harder. And I know that because I get some young guys that come in, and I'm sure you see this, they just want to lift heavy. They don't know, they just want to lift heavy. Amazing story. I totally forgot about that LA thing. So that's kind of what started this whole thing. Like, first you learned, and then you came back and you applied it on yourself, and then you started helping everybody else.
100%.
So it sounds like you had a lot of good mentors in your life. Your first mentor probably being your dad, who sounded like he was Superman. And then can you give us who were the biggest role models, in your life in terms of the hockey world? Let's stick to the hockey world for a bit here. From an early age, especially being a black hockey player in the GTHL, who guided you through that journey? That's not an easy journey. But what was that journey like, being a black hockey player in the GTHL? You went on to get a scholarship, but can you take us through that journey a little bit?
Yeah. It's a loaded question. I love it.
They're coming.
Yeah. The G, my experience with hockey, like I said, I'm a late bloomer. I'm a late bloomer to the game. You know, when I got into the game, I was very fortunate that I had a gift. I could skate. But, you know, when you start hockey that late, you don't know the game. The IQ just wasn't there. So these coaches would see me fly up and down the ice, and they're like, "Oh, we got to take that kid." Then they get him on the ice, and he's going offside. You know, he's chasing icings. Like, what are you doing out there? You know, so the first few years it was tough. It was tough for me, you know, for multiple reasons. One, I didn't know really where to turn because I didn't know the game, and it wasn't very welcoming to say you don't know, you know. So, but I was at the same time very fortunate that, you know, my father and another gentleman, Kirk, they had started this group called Skillz Hockey at the time, and I was able to join and be a part of this first group of ethnic kids. And this is the first where I seen other black hockey players playing a game. And it was this opportunity to kind of put my guard down and just be around the players like myself and have some pride that we all play hockey, and then know that there is a supporting cast out there to go back and take to my own team and then go play. And I ended up getting this like little confidence on my side that there is more of us, right? And that made that culture so much more inviting, and knowing that I had another player that's I could reach out to and talk about, you know, the challenges we were having, what's going on in the game, right? It was really welcoming, and you know, for the different reasons, it went away for a long time, but it was really influential at the beginning of my career. And then from there, I just had some great coaches that I was lucky to meet just through my father's experiences. You know, there was a gentleman, Coach Spence, and Coach Spence, he coached the Domino's Flyers growing up, and that guy's a legend. You know, for most guys who don't know him, you know, he's kind of out of the hockey game now. He's a little older now, but you know, he was a legend. The Trevor Daly's, the Eric Himmelfarbs, the you know, Spetzas, you know, if you went through the list, he trained them all as hockey players, you know. So
can I ask you, what made Coach Spence different for you? Because, like, obviously he connected to you, but what was it that, you know, you're still talking about him, I don't know, 20 years later? Why are you still talking about this coach?
He created a culture. There's three reasons. One, he created a culture that was, you know, work hard and you can get anything. He always had a big family. You know, everybody wanted to be a part of HPT. He had a big family. And, you know, the third thing, not to be any way, but he was a black hockey coach, you know?
Wow. So that helped with the connection, obviously. But
100%.
But you know, I always joke with people, you need mentors, and you need also people that look like you. You got to see it to be it. And you saw someone that looked like you, that coached you, and was I guess, well known in that. Like, you saw him help all these other guys. You're like, damn. And now he wanted to help you. So this is what I often tell people: we need more mentors, right?
Oh,
of all different races to play and coach if we want to grow this game that we love, man.
100%. And he did a great job of of, I got as good as I did, and was able to progress and catch up, not be all on my own. Coach Spence was the kind of coach that, if you were on the AA team, you're skating with the AAA guys. If you're on a AAA guy, you're skating with the team 2 years up. He put everybody outside of their comfort zone. And, that's one of the tools I use to this day, is putting players outside their comfort zone. It really, unless you're challenged, you'll never know what you're made of.
And that brings me up to talking about the guys you work with. I often hear the guys you work with, when you ask them what's it like to work at Intact with Levs or whatnot, they always talk about family and it's a great culture. It's a great culture to learn. Everyone's family here. We work hard. And it's like, is this where this came from? Is this did this come from Coach Spence? Is this a combination of your dad, Coach Spence, your coach, and your other coaches, the coach you had at NCAA, Oswego State? Is this a combination? Because that's the common thing. And if it is, how do you teach culture, or how do you preach culture like that?
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely not one person, but it is definitely a combination of everyone. I found like the most success that I had in any situation is when people are all close knit and all on the same page, working towards the same goal. So if with my teams at school, or my freshman year, we had amazing, all studs from everywhere. But when it came to playoff time, we were a bunch of individuals. We didn't buy in. There was cliques. We got kicked out in the first round. Next year, we had some altercations occur, and our two of our All-Americans were gone. Our starting goalie was gone. But we were still able to win a national championship because that family was so strong. It didn't matter. Nothing was going to break us. So it's a little bit of all of those tools I kind of pull together to really bring that out of me. And even in my household, families, things happen, but at the time, I leaned on my family. We didn't come from much, but between my sister and my father and my mom's, we were strong as a whole. And I had a brother that was really, really sick, and God rest his soul, he passed away. But if our family didn't stick together through those times, who knows where we'd all be. So family has always been an important thing to me. And when you feel like someone has your back, you really, truly believe that, I can do something, So it was important that in training and in coaching these athletes, that I created that same atmosphere where these kids can, let down their guard and let their fear be known, so that we can then attack their true goal. Whatever it is, we can attack that and know that there's going to be an army behind them to support that. That's been my mandate from day one. It's my mandate now. And with each stepping stone, with each year, more kids go on to make it. Some kids don't go on to make it, but they love the culture so much. They go into school, they learn something, and they want to come home and be a part of family and work in the biz, and that's a testament to the hard work of everyone that's been in the culture. And that gives me pride and happiness and an effort and an energy to make me want to go back there again the next day.
Well, it sounds like you got a lot out of your experience at university. And just recently I heard your coach called you back to talk to your team, to the present team there right now. I guess with COVID and them not playing, they need some inspiration. They need, and they reached out to you to give them a talk. What was that like? And what did you say to them? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. You know what? I was pretty surprised by the phone call, to be honest. When you're living in the experience, when you're at school, Coach and I obviously had some differences at times, But when you're an adult, and you really understand what they're trying to teach and what goes through their minds at the same time, um, it kind of brings things full circle and to a whole. But nonetheless, yeah, they asked me to come speak to the boys and girls at the school, and the biggest thing is in NCAA, they had shut down. There's no games. They're not playing, and so the team hadn't been practicing, and even for the coaches themselves, they're starting to start slipping away and really feeling the pressures of COVID and starting to feel it down, especially from
trying to feel sorry for themselves. And
exactly.
What's the point? What's the point?
What's the point? Exactly. So they had been bringing in different guest speakers every week to try and talk to kids and keep them motivated. So, it came up to have me talk. So I spoke, and, the one thing I just said to them right off the hop is, the glass is never half empty, it's so what they got to do now is look at the circumstance, right? Look at your circumstance. So what? You're not playing. You don't get to play. This is probably the first time in your career that you have an abundance amount of time to look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, what am I doing? How is it working? And if I added one or two new tools to my game, okay, and really added to my game, where can I really go with this? When else can you do that? When you think about it, every year you come home, you got 2-3 months to get in shape, to first rehab any injuries or anything you're coming back with, some aches and pains, get in shape and try and get a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, and go back to your season. But imagine the time to say, you know what, I want to be a better skater. I want to be, better along the walls. I got to get my first 2 steps faster. I got to, I want to become an offensive defenseman, whatever it is. You actually have the time to break down your game film. I've seen it now. You have time to work on your mobility. Oh, well, I want to get faster, but the reason I couldn't get faster is because even though I'm so much stronger, I got these little baby strides because I got no range of motion. Now I can really spend the time to do a 3-month yoga Pilates program, and add this piece to my puzzle. Or, what? Every time coach says something, I get too fired up. I can't focus. Okay, well, I got some good time to work with the sports psychologist or work on my mental game. Why do I get so rattled so easily? Why? Why am I getting rattled so easily? And let's fix that. Let's dial in and fix that, right? And read books, right? Take the time to have the knowledge to get better. I told the guys a story. I said, listen, even for myself, in the last 10, 12 years, Derrell, I would just going. And I didn't really take the time to just sit there and ask myself, what am I doing? How is it working? I asked myself briefly, but didn't really look myself in the mirror and say, Derrell, who are you and what do you stand for? I asked myself that question when I started, but did I ask myself that now? And when I did that, all of a sudden, boom, all these things started flooding to me. Then I said, you know what? I need to get out there. I got to work on my online platform. I always wanted to do it. I didn't do it. I always wanted to work on a book. I'm starting to work on that. I wanted, so all these things that I wanted to work out, I started doing it. And, and even other things like I haven't spent enough time with my family. Great. I've been spending time with my Intech family. I love them.
You some time to smell the roses, man. Smell
the roses. My sister's got 3 kids. I got to see them more than I do, So this was, coming down and saying, what's important to me? How do I make this work? And what do I got to do? So for me, all it meant was adjusting my schedule, getting up a little earlier, making the things that are important to me stay in my schedule and they don't change. Like and I was able to come out on top and get things, a lot of new tools and new things added to myself through COVID. And I explained this to the guys, right?
So basically you told these guys to sharpen the tools that or work on those tools they don't have, and this is how they should spend this year. Instead of moping around, focusing on how you're going to make this team better. Ask yourself, how can I make myself better, which will help this team at the end. And again, that goes back to your culture. And
100%. 100%.
And how did the coach react to this, or how did the team take this?
Well, we went way over time over there, and I kept going. I told him some stories too, obviously from back in the day. But Coach called me. He was like real thankful, and he said to me, he's like, "Lebs, I think you missed your calling in life." And I go, "Coach, what do you mean?" He's like, "No, seriously, son, you missed your calling in life." He says, I just left my house. I got to go to the office. I got to get to work. He's like, "Daryl, thank you very much." The stuff like that's priceless. I didn't mean for anything like that to happen. It just, just speak from the heart and let it be known, right? So.
I love it. And you can see this is the stuff that you bring with you when you go back to Intech and you're working with all these different teams, working with these different players from different places that helps you work with them to build culture, to build character and confidence. And that's always amazed me that you got guys from different teams, same age group, battling, training together. They don't play together, but they train together and then they leave and then play against each other and kill each other. But all the guys that I hear talking from videos and guys I talk to, they always talk about the family and we play for each other. When we're here, we're for each other. So I found that really amazing that you're amazing at building culture, motivating these guys. I got a boatload of questions. One of the ones I really want to get to is, in your opinion right now, how do we, there's a challenge after all this COVID, even before COVID, how are we going to grow this game in North America? How are we going to grow hockey? There's so many different people talking about growing the game. In your opinion, what has to happen for this to go down?
Well, there's a few different things. One's barrier to entry has always been a challenge. Financing. To be honest with you, if I grew up in this day and age, I probably wouldn't have been able to play hockey, with the way it's set up, so I take that in consideration. And then, we got to make it more inviting, make the sport more inviting for everyone. We're a country that's made up of so many different cultures, and a lot of the new cultures that come to this country, sometimes they're seeing hockey for the first time and they want to play. You got to be welcomed and understand that it's inviting to you. And having programs like we have those learn to play programs and so forth like that, so kids can learn and then grow up through that program and come to learn to play, and then grow up through that program and then possibly enter into something like what we have, like Intech High Performance, where these kids can come and develop and grow if they want to go that route as an athlete, But also, the second part is just, getting the game out there. It's not out there enough. The way the basketball culture shares the game through social media and stuff like that, hockey should be doing the same thing. So I think that that's a big part of it. And the more that we also descend our older generation of athletes speaking out to these kids and letting them experience it, the more opportunity we're going to have to promote kids to play the game.
I love it. This is not a one answer solution. This is this is ongoing. This is an infinite issue that we have to keep talking about and keep growing and keep working. And back to what I was saying, we need to figure out a way to get more diverse people playing, because if they see themselves playing, they're more likely to join the game, because it's going to feel like, hey man, that looks like fun. That looks safe. That looks fun.
For
And,
sure.
and you've worked with so many players. You've helped so many players, from youth transition to the pros to university. You've helped many diverse players go on to pro, university. What's the secret? Like of all the coaches in the GTHL, Ontario, you've probably helped, and I don't have it in the record. You've probably helped the most diverse players go on and more than anyone. What's the secret? How did you find these guys, or did they find you, or like, what's the secret?
It's kind of by accident a little bit, It's like I didn't really go say, "Hey, all you brothers, come over here, it's Slevs, let's go train." It kind of happened. But I think a lot of it happened, starts with Coach Spence, right? I met a lot of these young guys originally with him, and that culture with Skillz Hockey too. I was a vet. I was an older guy. The kids watched me play. So when I got out of the game, and they're looking for somewhere to train or somewhere where they can relate, that's where the culture began, right? So we continue that culture and give these guys an opportunity to have a home and earn everything they had. It's not like I took it any easier on them. Probably push them even harder at sometimes, So it's the world's, can be a great place, but it's also a very nasty place at the same time. And it's preparing athletes to deal with the positive and negatives that they're going to deal with in sport, and which happens in life, and which happens in business, and which happens in everything else. So we just gave them a safe foundation where they can experience this in a controlled environment where they can get challenged. Like there's times, for example, with Jamel Smith in his early days, Smitty, I used to give him the gears. I used to give that boy the gears till he probably want to take his hockey stick and break it over my head. But the whole point is that if you can't deal with me, how are you gonna deal with a coach out there that calls you names? If you can't deal with me, how are you gonna deal with a coach that makes you sit on the bench after you score a goal? If you can't deal with me, how are you gonna deal with life, right? So that's kind of experiences that we try to create.
You really prepare them for what's coming down the road here.
100%.
And you're not sugarcoating it for these guys.
No, there's no sugarcoating. The bottom line is our job is to, like you talked about right from the beginning, is creating culture. Yes, we're going to get you functionally ready and prepare the body and bulletproof the body and do all the things that sport science says to do. But we also, it's a culture, it's a family, and our job is to get these kids ready for life. It's our job to get them ready for life. And I like to keep as many mentors around and people around that get that. That's why that's why I'm like, hey man, come hang out with us. Come hang out with the boys, right? Let's get them ready, right? Because you understand the experience and what it takes, and and I'll go wherever to find it. I don't care the money or the cost. I flew Dr. Saul Miller in, the guy who wrote the book Hockey Tough, because I didn't like what these guys are putting in their television. Dr. Saul Miller talks about putting good thoughts in your television, and you need these kids to think outside the box. And we're not shy about bringing in other coaches and OHL coaches and NHL coaches just to speak to these kids or spend a session on the ice with them, so they understand the mentality and what people are looking for. So, and then also most importantly from like a very young age, even with our grassroots young kids, is we talk about goal setting and planning. We teach these kids to write out their own goals and set their own plans and make them work on them from like 8, 9, 10 years old, right? And then it's funny because you get a message from a mom or a dad, and they're like, "My son's running stairs, Daryl. What did you do? Why is he running up and down the stairs? He just went outside to start stick handling. It's Tuesday. He's stick handling. What did you do? What did you say to him?" And she's like, he says, "His mom, it's in my book. I wrote it in my book. I got to do it." And those are the little wins that we're looking for.
I love that, because that's what's happening to my little guy. He's doing stuff that you told him to do. And I'm like, who told you to do that? Coach Levs. I love it.
Awesome.
What is the vision of Intech? let's get serious now. Like you just talked about goals and vision. What is the big vision for Intech? What does it look like? And where are you going? Where are you going with this? I know I got all serious. I got serious on you here, man.
Yeah.
Because I know you're a deep thinker.
Yeah. Our goal with Intech is it's always been to just build a family. And what I mean by that is, hockey is, I sugarcoat a lot of stuff, but hockey was great for me, but it was also really tough for me, and I want to make sure that there's no kid out there that if they have a dream, that there's a home for them where they can feel comfortable to learn and develop and live out their true passion for as long as they want to live it out. And when they're done playing the game, that there is also a home for them, whether it's in strength, marketing, on-ice development, guest speaking, whatever it is, we want to build a home for these guys. Unfortunately for, the older generations, they didn't get all the guidance that the newer generation has. A lot of them, these guys went played in the OHL. A lot of them didn't finish high school and stuff like that, and they're coming home. What do they do now? So, and then for those kids that did listen to the word and did go to school, took marketing, took Cairo, took sports med, whatever it is, right? We got a home for you. Come be a part of the family and get this work done. So there's a lot of kids that, if they had the tools to and the accessibility to be trained and mentored the way they should, who knows where they would be, so I feel it's my life goal to make sure that we continue to build this and not just here, like for instance, we have some of the kids that grew up in the program that live in different parts of the States now, and they're calling, say, Les, I want to build an Intech over here. We need to keep the culture. We need to keep the culture going. Intech family, baby, let's go. Right. So, those are the kind of things that,
that's a great vision.
Inspire us to keep growing.
That's amazing. And I see that in how you train now. You have an infinite mindset. Like, you're not just training these guys to win today. When I see you work with these guys, you got the long game in mind. You got it's not just today for these guys. And anyone who's worked with you, I think they can definitely say that this guy, he may have pushed me, and I know you push him, but he cares. He wants me to be a better person, better human being, and a better hockey player. That's almost the last thing. But
for sure,
I see it. I've been around you. Now, the Levs, I know you're the coach. You're hard on these guys, and they all seem the same and say he's tough, but it's family. What will these guys say? The guys that have gone on to be coaches, go to the show, play hockey. What will they say 50 years from now when you're gone? What will they say what did Levs, the other thing, what did Levs do for you? What did they say? What will they say about you? What do you think? He was a jerk.
Yeah.
What do you think these guys would say? Anyone? I can already tell you what my kid's already saying, but you tell me what you think guys are going to say about you when you're gone.
Yeah.
I stumped you.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's hard to look that far in the future. My guy, I'm going to tell you let's start off. My little guy, he's only been working with you a couple months. He's like, Dad, that's the guy. That's the guy that's going to make me better. Like, already. You're not even gone yet, but he's like, that's the guy. And I was like, what? He hardly wants to go to his own practices. He's like, Dad, I'll go see Levs 5 times a week if you let me. You know what I mean?
That's good.
And that's the
That's good.
impact you have. And I don't think you know that. You got that impact, brother. And I think when you're gone, that's what they're gonna say. He made me better. He made me better. Whether it was in hockey, he made me a better person. I love it, man.
Sure.
I love it.
I think the big thing for us is what I always tell people is, we get back to it, but teaching people how to starve. And what I mean by starving is, if you and I are in a room and we don't eat for a week, and they put a piece of bread or a piece of meat on the floor, what are you gonna do to have that piece of meat so you can have another day on this earth? And when you get to that place, you do anything, right? So once you get to that place, that's when you have an opportunity to be successful in any point of life, right? And the one thing that I could say is that even today, there's been a lot of players that have gone and played and they've gone and moved on with their life, but it's really special to get invited to their weddings and go to their baby's their first child's baptism, and I've been to I don't know how many bar mitzvahs, and
that's you, man. You created this. That's an
special
impact. You definitely are. You know how you're talking about Spence 20 years later? Someone's going to talk about Derrell Levy 20 years from now. That's what he's going to say, that Lev started this. He started this. You're going to be that guy. And before we wrap up, I just want to ask you, what tips would you give parents that want to start their young kids in hockey right now today? What tips would you give parents that they're like, listen, should my kid play? What should I know?
For any parents that are starting their kids in hockey, don't have expectations. Let them go have some fun. And if the kid decides that, he wants to ramp it up and he gets a passion and love for the game the way he should, then feed the wolf, right? Fuel that fire, help support it, just be supportive. You surround them with the right people. They'll be the coaches and the mentors to help give them those life lessons to get there. And at home, he just needs that support and love that he knows that he or she has your blessing to live out their dream.
I love it, man. Feed the wolf.
Yes, sir.
Feed the wolf if they want it. Listen, how do people get a hold of Intact or you if they wanted to? This is great. I'm afraid I'm going to tell the audience there's not a lot of room. So you got to call Levs if you want to get into if you want to get into one of his programs. You got so many great programs going on pretty much every day, summer, winter programs. How do people get a hold of you, Coach?
They can get a hold of us either on the website, intechhpt.com, or hit our socials at intechhpt. Send us a DM. All our clinics and camps are on there. If you are far away and you still want to be in touch and get in touch with us with with some programming, we do online programming as well, so you can become part of the family that way. You can catch us at Intech online, Intech HPT online. intechonlinetraining.com. So feel good, reach out, and we're always here to support you.
Yeah, and before we go, I want to talk to you too. One of the main reasons, probably in the last 2 years, that I really wanted to be involved with you was all the sport testing you do, Levs. No one I know takes sport testing, baseline testing as serious as you do. What is that from your early days of coaching? Why is that such a big part of Intech?
Well, the big thing is everyone says, "Oh, I trained Connor McDavid, I trained Trevor D, I trained all these players," But more importantly than having the pictures up on your wall, which is nice, is proving you improve athletes by a certain percentage everywhere. Data doesn't lie, and these kids need to know where they stand and be motivated to know that they got better, and now once they've gotten better, they say, okay, where do we go now from here? Let's get even, improve even more from that. Right. So I think it's an intangible. And I also looked at, like I said, I started hockey late. And when I first was introduced to sport testing and timing gear and all that stuff, I brought down a bunch of NHL player development guys. And what they loved most about testing was not only just seeing the test, but they could just see players' strengths and weaknesses. You can see how a player turns to the left, how a player turns to the right. So, you're able to now say, okay, here's some imbalances. Here are things we got to work on, and really have some data to see where we go with this.
100%. You can't really call it true player development if you don't baseline them. And that's what I've always said. We at the quality coaching, we talk about this. How do you call it baseline? How do you call it, athlete development if you haven't baselined them? So that was one of the things that attracted me to your program, to you. I said, this guy gets it. And I just wanted our audience to get that before we left here. Guys, Levs, thank you, man. This was awesome. Like, anyone listening to this, please share amongst your friends, anyone who's in the hockey world. You can really get how passionate this guy is about what he does, about creating culture, family, and just making these kids have an awesome experience. I love it, man. Thank you, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And on that note, just go play. Levs, thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Coach D. It's been a pleasure, and it's always fun talking to you, and our minds just keep going. So I love it, and gotta keep spreading the word of knowledge and keep spreading the word of the sport, and keep having these kids have fun, because as long as there's passion and growing in the heart and the minds of these kids, we still have those future minds and hearts to say that I can, I will, and I must. All right.
It's gonna happen. Just go play, everyone. Thanks, Levs.